I hadn't seen her in 10 years, not since she was my brother's best friend. Back then, I was just a kid tagging along. Now I'm the man standing in front of her older boulder and still completely floored. She's divorced now, living in a city I just happened to visit. I knocked on the hotel door, and fate answered with a face I never forgot. The automatic doors whooshed open as Ethan Reyes stepped into the hotel lobby, dragging his suitcase behind him. The late afternoon sun filtered through the tall glass windows, casting gold shadows on the polished floors. His phone buzzed another email, another client, another deadline. 3 days in this quiet city, a corporate presentation tomorrow, maybe a drink afterward. If he wasn't completely wiped, then back to New York. He exhaled and walked toward the front desk, checking in. A soft, composed voice asked, and he glanced up, stopping cold. The woman behind the desk looked up at the same moment, her fingers freezing above the keyboard. Ethan. He blinked. The years collapsed in an instant. Claire. She was different, of course. A little older, softer around the eyes. Her once sun-kissed hair was now a richer shade of brown, swept back into a low, practical bun. But it was her, Claire Monroe, and his brother's best friend, the woman who used to babysit him, the one he'd nursed a ridiculous, silent crush on when he was 15. And now she was standing in front of him in a crisp hotel uniform, her name on a small silver pin. Claire, wow. Ethan managed, setting down his bag. I didn't expect this. Claire laughed, the sound still familiar and gentle. Neither did I. It's been, 10 years? More like 12, he said, still trying to reconcile this version of her with the memory burned into his brain. I barely recognized you. She added, a smile creeping across her lips. You're taller and you lost the shaggy hair. He chuckled. You're not still wearing chokers and quoting Alanis Morissette either, so I guess we both evolved. She laughed again, then glanced around the empty lobby as if suddenly remembering where she was. Right, sorry. Let me get you checked in. As her fingers flew across the keyboard, Ethan studied her. She looked good, not in a glossy magazine cover way, but in a real grounded, beautiful way, like she'd lived through a few storms and came out stronger for it. He cleared his throat. So you live here now? Moved here 2 years ago, she said without looking up. Needed a change. Got the job here and decided to stay. Where were you before? Portland for a while, then LA for way too long. Her tone shifted slightly, like she wasn't just talking about geography. Ethan hesitated. Still married. She paused, looked up, met his eyes. No, she said, quiet but certain. Divorced 2 years now. I'm sorry, don't be, Claire said quickly, her voice firm. It was time. He nodded, unsure what to say next. You're in town for work, she asked. Yeah, marketing conference. I'm presenting tomorrow. Claire smiled, handing him his keycard. Room 508. Elevator's just around the corner. He took the card but didn't move. You know this is going to sound weird, but it's really good to see you. Her smile softened. Not weird. It's good to see you too, Ethan. There was a moment, one of those quiet, delicate pauses where something unspoken floats between two people. Then Claire broke it. I live just 10 minutes from here, she said suddenly. If you're free tomorrow night, I'd love to catch up properly. Dinner, just us. No name tags or hotel lighting. Ethan blinked. You want me to come to your house, she laughed. You say it like I invited you to a secret bunker. He raised an eyebrow. I'm just surprised. Pleasantly. Claire shrugged. I haven't had a reason to cook something real in a while. You always did eat like a vacuum cleaner when you were a kid. He grinned. Still do. Good. Then say yes. He met her eyes again, still familiar, still full of something warm and unreachable. Yes, he said. She smiled. Great. I'll text you the address tomorrow. 7-7, he echoed, heart beating just a little faster. He picked up his suitcase and turned toward the elevator. As he walked away, he couldn't help but glance back. She was still looking at him, and she smiled. That evening, Ethan dropped his suitcase by the bed in his room, then sat on the edge, stunned. Claire Monroe. She had been a fixture in his childhood, always around, laughing with his brother, blasting music in her old car, arguing about movies, and telling Ethan to eat something other than cereal. She was 5 years older than his brother, 10 older than him. At the time, that made her feel like she lived in a whole different universe. And now she was single, grounded still. Claire, but something new too. He remembered the moment she'd walked into his family's kitchen one summer, wearing ripped jeans and a backwards baseball cap, and 15-year-old Ethan had nearly dropped a glass because she looked so cool and out of reach. Now she worked the front desk of a hotel in a quiet city and invited him to dinner. He lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. What the hell just happened? Sam's flashback, optional intercut scene for adaptation, screenplay version, summer 15 years ago. Ethan, a teenager, sits on the porch steps watching Claire climb out of her car. His brother runs out to meet her. Claire tosses her keys in the air and laughs. You coming or what? She looks over at Ethan. Still quiet, huh? He shrugs. She tosses him a soda. You'll grow out of it. He doesn't say anything, just watches her walk inside. The next morning, Claire woke up earlier than usual. She stared at the ceiling, heart oddly light. Last night had shaken her. Ethan grown up handsome, calm, and those eyes still thoughtful, still kind. She hadn't seen him in over a decade, and somehow he walked back into her life like he never left. Was she crazy for inviting him over? Maybe. But when she looked into his eyes, it felt like someone saw her. Not the divorced woman, not the tired front desk worker, not the has-been who left her marriage behind, just her Claire. She hadn't felt that in a long time. Later that day, Ethan stood outside the conference hall, sipping bad coffee and staring at his phone. Her text had come through during a break. Claire address, 1495 Maple Street. Small gray townhouse. Don't be late. I'm cooking real food, not hotel stuff. He smiled, then typed back, Ethan wouldn't miss it. Should I bring anything? A moment later, Claire. Just yourself, and maybe that smile I forgot you had. He stared at the screen a moment longer, then put the phone in his pocket. He had no idea where this was going, but he was showing up. Ethan stood outside Claire's house, holding a bottle of wine he wasn't sure she even liked. The porch light flickered once, casting soft shadows across the gray siding. The street was quiet, just a sleepy neighborhood tucked into the edge of the city, far from the high-rise buzz he was used to. He hesitated a moment. This was Claire, his brother's best friend, the woman who used to ruffle his hair and laugh at his attempts to act older than he was. But it wasn't like that anymore. He knocked. A few seconds passed, then the door opened. Claire stood in the doorway in jeans and a soft black sweater. Her hair down this time, brushing her collarbone. She wasn't wearing makeup, but she didn't need it. You came, she said, smiling. I said I would. He replied, holding out the wine. I brought peace offerings in case your cooking kills me. She rolled her eyes and took the bottle. Please, I was making grilled cheese while you were still chewing crayons. He stepped inside, grinning. The house was small but warm, full of lived-in charm, a stack of books on the coffee table, a faded couch with a crocheted blanket tossed over the arm. The faint smell of roasted garlic and lemon hung in the air. Claire led him into the kitchen where a pan of chicken and vegetables sizzled in the oven. A small table was set for 2 candles lit, not fancy, just intentional. Wow, Ethan said. You didn't have to go all out. Claire turned to, raising an eyebrow. Are you kidding? You're the first person I've cooked for in months. I had to dust off the real plates, he laughed. I feel honored. She poured them each a glass of wine and handed him one. 2 unexpected reunions. To finding out your childhood crush now makes a killer lemon chicken, he said before he could stop himself. Claire blinked, then smirked. Crush, huh? Ethan cleared his throat. Forget I said that? Nope, she teased, sipping her wine. Too late. They ate slowly, the conversation flowing easier than either of them expected. They talked about where they'd been since those old summers in Oregon, Claire's move to LA with her ex, her return to the slower pace of the city, and her job at the hotel. I got tired of trying to live someone else's life, she said quietly. My marriage, it was like being a guest in someone else's story. I wanted something quieter, something real. Ethan nodded, watching her. You look happy here. Peaceful. Claire looked down, smiling softly. I'm getting there. She tilted her head. And you? Still chasing big dreams? I work too much, sleep too little, and live off conference coffee, he admitted. But yeah, I like what I do. I just forget why I do it sometimes. You always were a little intense, he grinned. And you were always the only one who could get me to shut up. She chuckled, and for a moment the years between them vanished. They were just Ethan and Claire again. Later they sat on the porch with blankets and the last of the wine. The air was cool, scented faintly with pine and the distant hum of a neighbor's barbecue. Claire pulled her knees to her chest, watching Ethan from the corner of her eye. You know, she said, I always wondered what happened to you after college. I went east, got swept up in the grind, rarely looked back. But you did tonight. He looked at her. Yeah, I did. A beat passed. You know, Claire said slowly, you were always kind, even when you were a moody little teenager trying to impress everyone. Ethan smiled. You noticed that? Of course I did. You used to blush every time I ruffled your hair. He laughed, then grew serious. I thought you were incredible. You were wild and smart and fearless. I think every guy in our neighborhood had a crush on you. Claire exhaled. That version of me feels like a ghost sometimes. You're still her, he said softly, just quieter now. Claire looked at him. Her eyes warmed, but then she shook her head. Ethan, I'm 10 years older than you, he nodded. I know. I used to babysit you. I'm not asking for anything, he said. I'm just saying this feels good being here with you. She looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. Yeah, she whispered, it does. As the night ended, he helped her clean the kitchen. She insisted he didn't need to, but he did anyway, drying the dishes while she rinsed them. You've changed, she said suddenly. How so? You're still kind, but you're more confident, grounded. He smiled. Life has a way of beating the arrogance out of you. Claire chuckled. You never had much arrogance. You just had stars in your eyes. They stood there in silence for a moment. I'm glad you knocked on my door, she said. I almost didn't, he replied, but I'm really glad I did. She opened the door for him and he stepped out into the night. Good night, Claire. Good night, Ethan. And just as he turned to leave, she said softly, don't wait another 12 years. He turned back, eyes meeting hers. I won't. Ethan didn't sleep much that night. Back in his hotel room, the city lights filtered through the half-closed curtains, but his mind replayed every detail. Claire's laugh, the smell of garlic and lemon in her kitchen, the way she looked at him just before he walked away. He stared at the ceiling, heart racing quietly like something was shifting. And for the first time in a while, he wasn't thinking about deadlines or presentations or flights to catch. He was thinking about her. The next morning, he arrived at the office downtown, dressed sharp, speaking clearly during the client meetings, smiling at the right moments. But under the surface, he was distracted. Claire hadn't texted, not that he expected her to, but still. He checked his phone twice before noon. Who are you texting? Asked Marcus, one of his coworkers, giving him a teasing glance over his laptop. No one, Ethan replied, trying to sound casual, but his brain was still on her porch, hearing her say, don't wait another 12 years. It was Thursday when he saw her again. He didn't plan it that way. It was supposed to be a quiet evening, catching up on emails in the hotel lobby, but there she was behind the front desk, head bent over a clipboard, hair falling slightly forward. Claire. He froze for a second, then approached the desk casually. Hey. She looked up surprised, but not unkindly. Her eyes softened. Hey, stranger. I was wondering if you'd forgotten about me. He grinned. You said not to wait 12 years. It's only been 4 days. She laughed under her breath, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Touché. There was a pause, a comfortable one. I'm off in about 30 minutes, she said, meeting his gaze. If you're not busy, I'll be right here, he replied without hesitation. They walked through the quiet streets near her neighborhood as dusk fell. The air was cool, touched with that gentle autumn crispness, and the street lamps were just beginning to blink on. Claire had changed into jeans and a denim jacket, her hands tucked into the pockets as they strolled. I forgot how peaceful it is here, Ethan said. Feels like time moves slower. That's why I like it, she replied. Everything out there, big cities, big goals, it's always about running faster. Here you can breathe. He nodded. Did you always know you'd come back? No, she said truthfully. When I left, I swore I'd never come back. I thought this place was too small for me, too quiet. But when things fell apart in LA, this was the only place that still felt like home. He looked at her, his voice softer. And does it feel like home again? Claire was quiet for a second. It's getting there. They reached a small park, mostly empty, just a couple of kids throwing a frisbee in the fading light. Claire sat on a bench and Ethan sat beside her. She tilted her head. Tell me something you've never told anyone. Ethan blinked. What? Come on. We've done the polite catching up part. Let's skip ahead. He smiled. All right. Okay. I almost quit my job 6 months ago. Claire looked surprised. Really? Why burnout? I was tired of chasing things that didn't mean anything. I got close, had the resignation letter ready and everything. But then they offered me a project I couldn't walk away from, so I stayed. And now I'm here. She studied him for a second. You don't sound like you regret staying. I don't. Not anymore. Claire looked at him, and something in her expression changed. Not romantic yet, but open, honest. She was letting her guard down piece by piece. Your turn, he said. Tell me something you haven't told anyone. She thought for a long moment. I cried the day I finalized my divorce, she said. Not because I was sad it was over, but because I felt guilty for feeling relieved. Ethan didn't speak, just nodded. He was a good man, she continued, but we were wrong for each other. He wanted a partner who fit a version of his world. I kept trying to shrink myself to fit that version, but after a while I didn't recognize myself. You don't need to shrink for anyone, Ethan said. She glanced at him. You always say the right things. Now I've learned to stop holding them back. A soft breeze swept through the park. Claire's hair moved slightly in the wind. She shivered. Want to walk me home? She asked. He stood before she could even finish the sentence. Always. Back at her house, Claire hesitated at the door. She turned toward him, keys in her hand, her eyes searching his face. Would you like to come in again? Ethan didn't answer with words. He just followed her. This time the lights were lower. The house felt even more familiar. His coat draped on the same chair from last time. The wine bottle, still half full, sat on the counter. Claire kicked off her shoes and Ethan did the same. She walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. I've got leftover pasta or frozen pizza. Choose wisely. Frozen pizza, he said. There's no dignity in reheated penny, she grinned. Correct answer. As the oven preheated, they sat on the couch, a little closer this time, their knees almost touching. Ethan picked up one of the books from her table, the Midnight Library, and flipped through it. You always read fiction, only the kind that makes me feel something, she replied. He set the book down. You always talk like that. Like what? Like you're narrating a film, she smirked. Maybe I just think in scenes. Well, for what it's worth, you're my favorite character so far. Her face softened, her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but the oven beeped, breaking the moment. Claire stood brushing imaginary dust from her jeans. Pizza time. They ate at the coffee table, talking about everything and nothing. Music, travel, childhood stories. Claire told him about the time she broke her arm climbing a tree in junior high. Ethan told her how he once faked an injury to skip gym class for a week and was caught by his mother pretending to limp on the wrong leg. The laughter came easy, so did the silence. Later, when the plates were cleared and the wine was nearly gone, Claire leaned her head against the back of the couch, eyes closed. I forgot how nice it is to just sit with someone, she murmured. Ethan turned toward her. I forgot how nice it is to be with you. Claire opened her eyes and looked at him. There was a shift, a pause, a pulse between them. But instead of kissing her, Ethan reached out gently and took her hand. She didn't pull away. They sat like that, fingers tangled, breath slow, for a long time. Then she whispered, I don't know where this is going. Me neither, he said, but I don't want it to stop. Claire turned to him, her voice barely above a breath. Then don't stop. Outside, the wind rustled the trees, the city slept, but inside, two people who used to be memories were becoming something else. Ethan found himself returning to Claire's house almost every evening after work. What started as a chance reunion had turned into a rhythm dinner, laughter, quiet conversations, the brush of fingertips on a wine glass, the flicker of something unspoken in a glance. It wasn't official, it wasn't labeled, but it was something, and neither of them wanted to walk away from it. On Thursday night, as rain tapped softly against the windows, Claire lit candles in the living room, while Ethan stirred a pan of risotto. She trusted him not to burn it. He wore one of her aprons, a ridiculous floral thing she teased him about. I feel like I'm in a Hallmark movie, he said, glancing over his shoulder. All I need now is a tragic backstory and a farm to save. Claire laughed from the couch. You do have a tragic backstory. You work in corporate sales. Ouch! She smirked, curled up with a blanket, a dog-eared copy of The Bell Jar in her lap. Her hair was slightly damp from the rain, giving her a soft, undone look. Ethan brought her a glass of wine, then returned to the stove. You know, she said after a sip, I used to think I'd be remarried by now. New house, maybe a kid. But here I am lighting candles and eating risotto with someone 10 years younger. He didn't flinch. Do you regret it? Claire looked at him serious now. No, but I do wonder what people would say if they knew. He turned off the stove, wiped his hands on the apron, and came to sit beside her. What would you say, he asked, if you saw us from the outside? She was quiet, then I'd say that woman looks happy and maybe a little terrified. Why terrified? Because every time she starts to feel again, she remembers how easily things can fall apart. Ethan took her hand. Things can also fall together. You just have to stop bracing for the break. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I wish I could believe that as easily as you do. I don't believe it easily, he said. I believe it because I met you. They kissed that night. It wasn't planned and it wasn't dramatic, just a quiet moment on the couch after dinner. Claire turned to say something and he was already closer than either of them realized. Her voice faltered. His eyes didn't leave hers. Then she leaned in and he met her halfway. It was slow, gentle, careful. When they pulled apart, her hand was on his chest and his was tangled in her hair. She whispered, this changes things. I know. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Her voice broke slightly. I haven't done this in years. He pressed his forehead to hers. Then let's not rush it. Let's just be. They stayed like that, wrapped in quiet certainty while the world outside faded into rain and candlelight. But the next day, reality crept in. Ethan had meetings back to back. His phone was buzzing nonstop. His team needed updates, and clients were calling in for final reviews. Claire sent him a simple message at noon. Claire hoped the risotto didn't ruin your credibility. P.S. You left your tie here. I might keep it. He smiled at his screen like a teenager, then quickly typed back, Ethan, I'll come retrieve it tonight. Tie theft is a serious offense. Ethan. So I think about last night every 5 minutes. Her reply came back with a pause. Claire, so do I. That night as he approached her porch again, a flicker of nervousness hit him. The comfort was still there, but so was something else, a weight, a growing awareness that this was no longer just some accidental reunion. He rang the bell. Claire answered wearing a soft sweater and jeans, her hair in a low bun. She looked casual, but her eyes held something vulnerable, tender. He stepped inside and took her hand without asking. I missed you, he said. She smiled, but it was tight. I missed you too. Something was off. He could feel it. Everything okay? Claire hesitated, then motioned toward the kitchen. Let's sit. He followed her in, sitting at the counter while she poured 2 cups of tea, no wine tonight. I got a call today, she began, from your brother. Ethan's heart paused. Jake Claire nodded. He saw me tagged in a photo by someone in town. It was a picture from the front desk. Apparently the hotel posted it for a staff appreciation thing. He recognized me. Ethan's stomach turned slightly. What did he say? He was surprised, then confused, then curious. He asked how I was, asked if I'd seen you. Ethan leaned forward. What did you tell him? I said yes, that you were here for work, that we had dinner. She paused. I didn't say anything more, but I think he suspects. Ethan exhaled slowly. Okay. Claire looked down at her mug. I know it's not wrong. We're both adults. But he's your brother, and I was once someone important in his life, and now you're someone important in mine. Important, Ethan said firmly. Her eyes met his. I know, this might sound selfish, he continued, but I don't care what Jake thinks, not if it means pretending this isn't real. She swallowed hard. I care about your family, about how this could change things. I know, he said gently, but don't let that stop you from choosing what makes you happy. Claire looked at him for a long moment. Her fingers tightened slightly around her mug. Then she nodded. Okay. Over the next week, they carved out something that felt like a secret haven in a noisy world. Ethan finished his workdays and headed straight to Claire's house. They cooked, talked, kissed, slowly learning each other in ways only time and silence could allow. They took long walks through her neighborhood. He learned how she liked her coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, how she hummed when she was lost in thought, how her favorite movie was, Before Sunset, because it didn't need a happy ending to feel meaningful. And she learned that he slept with socks on, always left half his dinner untouched. Not full, just forgetful, and kept a photo of his late grandfather in his wallet. The age gap began to fade, replaced by a shared understanding. They weren't from the same era, but they'd found each other in the same moment. One night as they sat on her back porch watching stars blink into the dark, Claire whispered, "What happens when you leave next week?" Ethan's job had a ticking clock. He was due to fly home in 4 days. He reached for her hand. "I don't know, but I don't want this to be over. Long distance, if that's what it takes." Claire looked at him, torn. "I'm not 22 anymore, Ethan. I don't want to play pretend. I want something that feels real." He nodded. "So do I. And I think we already have it." She didn't answer right away, but she leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. They didn't speak again that night. Sometimes love needed space to breathe. On Sunday, Claire walked him to his hotel room. It was early evening, the sky a soft lavender. The city buzzed in the background, but all he could see was her. "I'll miss this," she said, standing at his door. He reached up, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Come with me." "What?" "Just for a weekend. Visit. Let's see where this goes." Claire hesitated. "That's a big ask. I'm not asking for forever. Just a weekend." Her eyes flicked to his. She could see the sincerity, the hope. "I'll think about it," she whispered. He kissed her gently, once, twice, then he walked inside, leaving the door open just a little longer than necessary. Claire stood in front of her bedroom mirror, suitcase half zipped on the bed behind her. It was Friday morning, 2 days after Ethan had left, 2 days of silence in the house, 2 days of thinking, replaying their walks, his smile, the way he looked at her, like she wasn't just someone he used to know, but someone he couldn't stop wanting to know more. On the nightstand sat a boarding pass. He had sent it within hours of leaving, just in case. "I'll be at the airport. No pressure, but I hope." She had almost deleted it, almost told herself it was sweet but temporary, almost convinced herself that it was better to feel nothing than to feel this much and risk it all again. But then she remembered the way he listened and the way he didn't flinch at her fears, and how for the first time in years she'd fallen asleep beside someone and woken up without dread. She zipped the suitcase closed. Ethan stood at the terminal pretending to read an article on his phone. Every few seconds he looked up, nothing. His flight left in an hour. He had no idea if she'd show, but he couldn't leave the city without trying. Just as he was about to walk toward the gate, he heard a voice behind him. "I told you tie theft was serious." He turned. Claire stood there, suitcase in hand, wearing jeans, a light coat, and holding his tie looped around her fingers. His heart stopped. "You came," he said. She gave a half smile. "I didn't want to wonder for the rest of my life what might have happened if I said yes." Ethan crossed to her, and for a moment neither said a word. Then he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her like time had been waiting for this. The weekend in his city was slow, intentional. There were no fireworks, no grand gestures, just quiet meals, shared silences, coffee and jazz in the morning, and the comfort of feeling like they weren't out of place anymore. Claire met his friends. One of them, a nurse named Dana, pulled her aside. "He's never looked at anyone the way he looks at you," she said simply. It made Claire's chest ache in the best way. Still, she couldn't silence the voice in her head. "This isn't practical. What if you're just a phase? What if he wants kids? What if you want peace? What happens when the newness fades and the real world creeps in?" They lay on the couch Sunday night, legs tangled, a movie playing, but neither really watching. Claire turned toward him. "What if this doesn't last?" Ethan looked at her, eyes steady. "Then I'll be glad I had it, and I'll know I gave it everything." She blinked. "I'm not saying that to scare you," he continued. "I'm saying it because I want you to know I'm not chasing forever. I'm choosing you right now, and I'll keep choosing you day by day." She pressed a hand to his chest. "I want to choose you too," she whispered. "Then we start there." Over the next few months, Claire traveled back and forth. Ethan made a few work trips that just happened to coincide with long weekends near her. They cooked, bickered about movies, introduced each other to favorite books, and navigated the complications of long distance. It wasn't perfect. There were nights Claire cried after they hung up, days Ethan felt the weight of being pulled in different directions, but they didn't give up. Eventually, Claire decided to take a leap. She moved not for Ethan, she insisted, but for herself. "I spent the last 2 years thinking life was something I had to manage," she told him. But then I remembered it's something I get to live. She found a teaching role at a small community college, teaching engineering and mechanics, something she thought she'd left behind. Ethan helped her unpack his tie still hanging from her doorknob. One Sunday morning, Claire stood in the kitchen in one of his old t-shirts, sipping coffee, while Ethan scrolled through an old photo album she'd finally let him see. He paused on a photo from 10 years ago, his brother Jake, and a few others on a road trip. "You really did know him best," Ethan said. She came and sat beside him. "I did," she said softly, "and I still care about him. But I care about myself more now. And what I have with you, this is mine, not his." Ethan kissed her temple. "You're allowed to have both your past and your future." She nodded, then smiled. "I used to think my love story was already written, like I had my chapter, and that was it. But maybe it's not one story. Maybe it's a collection." He looked at her heart full. "And I'm your what?" "Epilogue," she laughed. "You're a new volume." 6 months later, Claire got a message from Jake. "It was short, I heard, and I'm happy for you. Don't worry about me. Just be good to each other." She stared at the message for a long time, then forwarded it to Ethan, who replied with a simple "told you." A year passed. They didn't rush into rings or vows. They didn't post about each other every day or try to prove anything to the world. But they showed up. They showed up for lazy Sundays, for hard conversations, for family dinners that felt strange at first, but warmer over time. They went slow, but they went together, and that they realized was all the story ever needed. The story of Ethan and Claire teaches us that life's most transformative moments often come when we least expect them, reigniting past connections with new meaning. Ethan, once a shy teenager with a crush, and Claire, a woman rebuilding after divorce, rediscovered each other after a decade apart. Their chance reunion in a hotel lobby blossomed into a deep, authentic bond, showing that love doesn't follow a timeline or age, it thrives on honesty and presence. Claire's courage to embrace vulnerability despite her fears, and Ethan's choice to pursue something real rather than fleeting, remind us that second chances require us to let go of doubt and choose connection in the present. Their journey underscores that life is not a single story, but a collection of chapters, each offering a chance to rewrite our future with someone who sees us as we are. This tale inspires us to stay open to unexpected encounters, to honor our past without letting it define us, and to embrace the risk of love for the sake of feeling truly alive. Have you ever reconnected with someone from your past who changed your life's direction? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear about your own moments of serendipity. If this story of rediscovery and resilience moved you, please subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt tales. Hit the like button, share with someone who needs a reminder to stay open to love, and ring the bell to stay updated. Your support keeps these stories shining, so join us in celebrating the beauty of new beginnings.